Welcome to US Numismatics Hub, the place where ordinary American coins reveal extraordinary value. Today we're taking a closer look at the Washington dollar, a coin many people overlook but collectors watch very carefully. What looks like a simple dollar coin could actually hide rare varieties, mint errors, and surprising value that most people never noticed. So stay with us because this Washington dollar might be worth far more than you ever imagined. Top one today, we are exploring the fascinating United States Washington quarter from 1969. At first glance, it may look like just another coin, but experienced coin collectors know that some of these quarters carry incredible history and rare characteristics that can turn them into extremely valuable collectibles. The Washington Quarter series began in 1932 to honor George Washington, the first president of the United States. By 1969, these coins were already a familiar sight in everyday circulation. They were struck using a copper-nickel-clad composition, replacing the earlier silver coins that had been used before 1965. Because millions of these coins were produced, most people believe they're very common. But in the world of numismatics, small differences can create big value. Collectors carefully study the 1969 Washington Quarter for special features that make certain coins stand out from the rest. One important factor is the coin's condition. A coin that has never been circulated and still shows its original mint luster can be extremely desirable. Sharp details on Washington's hair, clear lettering, and a strong strike are all signs that collectors search for. But condition is only part of the story. What truly excites coin hunters are minting errors and rare varieties that occasionally appear on this coin. These mistakes happened during the minting process and created unique pieces that collectors love to find. One of the most interesting errors is the double die effect. This happens when the coin design is accidentally stamped twice at slightly different angles. When this occurs, you may notice doubling in the lettering such as Liberty or In God We Trust. Sometimes even the date shows clear doubling. These details can make a coin far more valuable than an ordinary quarter. Another rare and exciting possibility is an off-center strike. In this case, the coin was not perfectly aligned when it was struck, leaving part of the design missing while another section appears stretched or shifted. These unusual-looking coins attract a lot of attention because every error is unique. Collectors also watch closely for coins struck on the wrong planchet. Occasionally, a Washington quarter was mistakenly struck on metal intended for another coin. When this happens, the coin may look thinner, lighter, or slightly different in color. These rare mistakes can instantly turn a simple quarter into a highly prized collectible. There are also cases of dramatic die cracks, cuds, and other striking abnormalities that give each coin its own story. For passionate collectors, discovering one of these rare features is like uncovering a hidden treasure from the past. What makes coin collecting so exciting is that valuable pieces can still be hiding in everyday places. Old jars of coins, forgotten collections, and pocket change can sometimes contain surprises that have been overlooked for years. The 1969 Washington Quarter reminds us that even the most ordinary coin can carry extraordinary potential. That is why collectors always examine their coins carefully, searching for the tiny details that others might miss. The next time you come across a Washington Quarter from 1969, take a closer look before you spend it. Check the date, study the lettering, and examine the surface for unusual features. You might just be holding something far more special than you ever expected. And believe it or not, a rare and exceptional example of this coin, especially one with unique mint errors and preserved in outstanding condition, has been known to reach an incredible value of $86,000. Top 2, we are taking a closer look at the United States Washington Quarter from 1972. At first glance, it appears ordinary, with the familiar portrait of George Washington on the front and the eagle design on the reverse that was used before the state quarter program began. Millions of these coins were struck, which is why many people assume they have little value. However, the real excitement begins when collectors start examining the tiny details. The 1972 Washington Quarter was produced during a time when the United States Mint was using copper-nickel-clad metal instead of silver. Even though these coins were made in large numbers, not all of them were created perfectly. During the minting process, small errors sometimes occurred, and those errors can make certain coins extremely rare and highly desirable. One of the most fascinating things collectors search for on this coin is a double die error. This happens when the design of the coin is accidentally impressed twice during the die creation process. When you look closely at the letters such as Liberty or the phrase, "I in God we trust," you might see a shadow-like doubling effect. Sometimes the numbers and the date also show this doubling. When this error is clear and strong, collectors become very interested. Another exciting discovery can be an off-center strike. In this case, the coin blank was not perfectly aligned when it was struck by the dies. The result is a coin where part of the design appears shifted or missing, creating a very unusual appearance. Because each off-center error is different, these coins are considered unique pieces of mint history. There are also cases where collectors find coins with major die cracks or cuts. These happen when the die used to strike the coin begins to break or wear down. The cracks can leave raised lines across the coin surface, while a cut appears as a raised blob of metal along the edge. These unusual features are strong evidence that the coin was produced during a damaged die stage, which collectors love to study. Another rare situation is when a Washington quarter is struck on the wrong planchet. This means the coin was accidentally struck on a metal blank intended for another denomination. When this happens, the coin may look thinner, lighter, or different in color. These types of mint errors are extremely rare and often become highlights in advanced coin collections. Of course, the condition of the coin also plays a huge role in its value. A 1972 quarter that has never been circulated and still shows its original mint shine can be far more valuable than a worn coin. Collectors carefully examine the sharpness of Washington's hair, the clarity of the lettering, and the strength of the eagle design on the reverse. For coin lovers, the thrill is always in the search. Valuable coins are not always locked away in museums. Sometimes they are hiding in old coin jars, forgotten collections, or even everyday change. That is why experienced collectors always check their coins carefully, looking for those tiny differences that others might miss. The 1972 Washington quarter is a perfect reminder that even an ordinary coin can carry an extraordinary story. With the right combination of rarity, mint errors, and exceptional preservation, this simple quarter can become a prized treasure in the world of numismatics. And believe it or not, an exceptional example of the 1972 Washington quarter with rare characteristics has been known to reach an astonishing value of $82,000. Top 3, we are exploring the United States Washington quarter from 1974. At first glance, it looks just like many other quarters from the same era, featuring the well-known portrait of George Washington on the front and the powerful eagle design on the reverse. These coins were struck during a time when the United States Mint was producing clad coins made from layers of copper and nickel, replacing the earlier silver coinage. Because millions of 1974 quarters were produced, many people assume the coin has no real value beyond its face value. However, experienced collectors know that the real story of a coin is often hidden in the smallest details. Some of the most valuable coins in the hobby are not the ones everyone expects, but the ones that carry rare mint errors or extraordinary condition. One of the most exciting discoveries collectors search for in the 1974 Washington quarter is the double die error. This happens when the coin die receives a doubled impression during the manufacturing process. When this occurs, the letters and numbers on the coin can appear slightly duplicated or shadowed. On some rare examples, collectors have spotted doubling on the word Liberty, the date, or the phrase, "I in God we trust." These details may seem tiny, but to collectors they can mean the difference between a common coin and a rare treasure. Another fascinating error that sometimes appears on this coin is the off-center strike. During the minting process, if the coin blank is not properly aligned, the design may be stamped unevenly across the surface. This can create a dramatic appearance where part of the design is missing while another section looks unusually wide. Off-center coins instantly grab the attention of collectors because every example is unique. Collectors also search carefully for coins with die cracks or cuts. Over time, the metal dies used to strike coins can develop small fractures. When a cracked die strikes a coin, it can leave raised lines or unusual shapes across the design. These imperfections are actually prized by collectors because they represent a moment in the life of the minting equipment. Another rare possibility is a quarter struck on the wrong planchet. This type of error occurs when a blank mint for another coin accidentally enters the quarter press. The result can be a coin with a strange weight, unusual color, or different size. Coins with these kinds of dramatic mint mistakes often become some of the most talked about pieces in numismatic circles. Condition also plays an enormous role in the value of a 1974 Washington quarter. Coins that were never circulated and still display their original mint luster are much more desirable. When the details of Washington's portrait remain sharp and the eagle on the reverse is crisp and strong, collectors know they're looking at a special coin. For many coin enthusiasts, the excitement is not just about owning a rare piece, but about the search itself. Valuable coins are sometimes hiding in old family collections, forgotten coin rolls, or even loose change that people overlook every day. That's why experienced collectors always examine their coins carefully, knowing that history and value can appear in the most unexpected places. The 1974 Washington quarter reminds us that even a most ordinary-looking coin can hold an extraordinary secret. With the right combination of mint errors, rarity, and outstanding condition, a coin that once circulated quietly through everyday transactions can become a prized collectible. And for collectors lucky enough to discover one of the most remarkable examples of this coin, its value has been known to reach as high as $77,000. Top for we're taking a closer look at the United States Washington quarter from 1979. At first glance, this coin might seem completely ordinary. Millions of these quarters were produced and circulated across the country, passing through the hands of shoppers, workers, and families for everyday purchases. Because of that, most people assume the coin is only worth its face value. However, collectors know that sometimes the most common-looking coins can become the most exciting discoveries. The Washington quarter itself has a long and fascinating history. The design featuring George Washington first appeared in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of his birth. The portrait on the front shows the first president of the United States in a dignified profile, while the reverse displays the powerful American eagle with its wings spread wide, clutching arrows and olive branches as symbols of strength and peace. BY 1979, the United States Mint was producing quarters made from a copper and nickel-clad composition, which replaced the earlier silver coins that circulated before 1965. Even though these coins were produced in large numbers, collectors pay close attention to specific varieties, rare mint errors, and exceptional condition. One of the most exciting features collectors search for on the 1979 Washington quarter is the double die error. This occurs when the coin die receives two slightly misaligned impressions during the creation process. When that die strikes a coin, certain letters or numbers can appear doubled. Careful collectors examine the words liberty, the date, and the phrase "I in God we trust" to see if there is any noticeable doubling. Even a small doubling effect can turn a common coin into a highly collectible piece. Another fascinating error that sometimes appears on these quarters is the off-center strike. During minting, if the coin blank shifts slightly before being struck, the design may appear partially missing or pushed toward one side of the coin. Off-center coins are especially interesting because every example is different, and the unusual appearance immediately catches the attention of collectors. There are also cases where die cracks form on the minting dies after repeated use. These cracks can create raised lines or unusual shapes on the coin surface. Instead of seeing them as damage, collectors actually appreciate these features because they reveal the life cycle of the minting equipment and create unique varieties. Another rare possibility is a quarter struck on the wrong planchet. This type of mint error happens when a blank intended for a different coin accidentally enters the quarter press. The result can be a coin with a strange color, unusual weight, or slightly different size. These dramatic mistakes are extremely rare and are highly sought after by serious numismatists. Condition is another major factor that determines the value of a 1979 Washington quarter. Coins that remain in brilliant, uncirculated condition with strong mint luster are much more desirable than coins that have been heavily used in everyday transactions. When the details of Washington's hair, the lettering, and the eagle feathers remain sharp and untouched. Collectors know they have found something special. Many valuable coins are discovered in surprising places. Some are found in old coin jars, inherited collections, or rolls of coins from the bank. That is why experienced collectors always examine their quarters carefully, because hidden treasures can sometimes be sitting right in plain sight. The 1979 Washington Quarter reminds us that coin collecting is not just about money, but about history, discovery, and the thrill of the hunt. Every coin has a story, and sometimes that story includes rare, minting mistakes or exceptional preservation that turns an ordinary coin into a remarkable collectible. For those lucky enough to discover one of the rarest examples of this coin with exceptional condition or a remarkable mint error, collectors have seen values climb as high as $73,000. Top 5, we're exploring the United States Washington Quarter from 1981. At first glance, this coin may look like any other quarter you might receive in your change. It carries the familiar portrait of George Washington on the front, a design that has become one of the most recognizable images in American coinage. On the reverse side, the powerful eagle spreads its wings proudly, symbolizing strength, freedom, and the spirit of the United States. That by the early 1980s, the Washington Quarter was already a long-standing part of American currency. Since 1965, these quarters were produced using a copper and nickel-clad composition instead of silver. Because of this, many people assume coins from this period cannot possibly be valuable. However, experienced collectors know that the real value of a coin often lies in rare details that most people overlook. The 1981 Washington Quarter is especially interesting for collectors because certain examples show rare, minting characteristics and errors that make them far more desirable than ordinary pieces. One of the most fascinating features collectors search for is a double die error. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin receives more than one impression during its creation, slightly misaligned from each other. When this die strikes coins, the letters and numbers may appear doubled. Sharp-eyed collectors often inspect the date, the word liberty, and the phrase "I in God we trust" for signs of this unusual doubling. Another exciting possibility is the off-center strike error. During the minting process, if the metal blank is not perfectly aligned inside the press, the design may be stamped partially off to one side. The result is a coin that looks dramatically different from normal quarters, with a portion of the design missing and blank metal showing along one edge. These off-center coins are highly collectible because each one is unique. Collectors also pay attention to die cracks and cuts. Over time, the heavy pressure used to strike coins can cause the metal dies to develop small cracks. When a cracked die strikes a coin, it can leave raised lines or unusual shapes on the coin surface. These features might seem like imperfections, but in the numismatic world, they are fascinating signs of how the coin was produced. Another rare discovery involves quarters that were struck on the wrong planchet. In these unusual cases, a blank intended for another denomination accidentally enters the quarter press. The resulting coin might appear smaller, thinner, or have a different color than a normal quarter. These dramatic mint mistakes are extremely rare and are highly prized by serious collectors. Condition also plays a huge role in determining the value of a 1981 Washington Quarter. Most coins from this year spent decades circulating in everyday commerce, collecting scratches, wear, and dull surfaces. However, coins that remain in pristine, uncirculated condition are far more difficult to find. When a coin still shines with its original mint luster and every detail of Washington's portrait and the eagle's feathers remains crisp and sharp, collectors recognize it as a special piece point. One of the most exciting aspects of coin collecting is that valuable coins can sometimes appear in the most unexpected places. Many collectors have discovered rare quarters while searching through old family collections, coin rolls from the bank, or even loose change that others overlooked. It's this sense of discovery that keeps coin enthusiasts examining every detail carefully. The 1981 Washington Quarter may appear ordinary at first glance, but its story proves that hidden treasures can exist within the most common coins. With the right combination of rare mint errors, exceptional preservation, and collector demand, this humble quarter can transform into something truly remarkable. And for collectors fortunate enough to find one of the finest and rarest examples of this coin, its value has been known to reach as high as $67,000.